Hello and welcome to this Medito live session. I'm Gareth, one of the co-founders of Medito, and I'm here today with Radim Malinic. So Radim is a creative director and a designer from Southwest London, and he runs an award-winning creative studio called Brand New. He's also a best-selling author, and his latest book is Pause, Breathe and Grow, Notes on a Mindful and Creative Life. Radim, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's nice to be doing something quite interesting on a sunny afternoon, which finally brightened up after this downpour we've had here. So yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited about our conversation.
Cool. So shall we kick off with maybe a bit more about you first of all? So can you tell us a bit about your career as a designer and as a business owner?
Yeah, so my career to where I ended up, what I've kind of ended up doing for a living wasn't always my sort of set path. I was born in Czech Republic, late 70s. We've got national sport was ice hockey, so that's where I kind of fall into. I wanted to be in pressure as a child, as you know. Some you want to do all of these amazing things. I wanted to be an astronaut at some point. I'm sure I wanted to drive a tank, just as you do. But I did ice hockey. Discovered rock and roll at sort of tender age of sort of early teenage years. And yeah, started sort of bands around the age of 13, 14, played our first gig when I was 15, on my 15th birthday, which was nerve-wracking. So music was a big part of my sort of upbringing and sort of kind of soulful upbringing. Like it was definitely sort of molding my soul for what I would do later in life. Didn't particularly like my bandmates for too long, so I went into DJing because I always liked the control of what I was doing. And from sort of DJing, I looked into sort of music journalism for a while and sort of production to explore the music as for what it was, to what it was available just sort of pre-year 2000. Through my DJing years and band years, I was always, never really too sober, but I sobered up to do a degree in economics because it was something I was always good at. Maths, I think they tell you like you have to be good at English and maths, and pretty much you go prospect for life. I was good at Czech and maths, so I did a degree in economics. Not necessarily because I was like, hooray, I'll have a career in finance. It was more like I need something, I need something to my name just to to show for those years. I moved to the UK 21 years ago, purely because I wanted to be closer to the record labels and sort of the gigs and the music scene that's in the UK, especially was at the time. I was fascinated by labels like Ninja Tune and all of those sort of down-tempo, sort of more sort of thinking and sort of, I don't know, more philosophical types of music. But what it turned out to be that through, again, my DJing and band career, more explorations, I was making up posters, I was making up sort of my mixtape covers and all sorts of stuff. So I was dabbling into graphic design a little bit. But it was when I moved to the UK, when my senses were so heightened, I was essentially, I'm on a never-ending holiday. I've moved to another place, and just like you go somewhere and the music sounds better, the food tastes better. When you're on a holiday for 2 weeks, 10 days, everything's better because you leave everything behind. Whereas all your worries and all the troubles in a way. So I was fascinated by everything that I was looking at. Posters. I was going to pretty much gigs, 3 or 4 gigs every week. It was amazing for me. Like it was just like. As I said, my senses were so heightened, and I found myself kind of realizing that after English studies, I need to get a job really, and I didn't want to take it too seriously. So I've started thinking maybe I can do something with my sort of minimal design skills at the time, and got a job at a t-shirt sort of print in place, basic stuff, kind of a print shop, and I literally told myself I'm going to learn so much on my own by having direct clients and just literally like just what I can learn in a print shop in about a year or two and kind of go from there. And it was just this unstoppable desire to really to get myself to the point where I could be as best as I can be by striving to do it myself, because there was nobody standing behind me saying, you know what, you're a graphic designer or you're an illustrator. One day you'll be writing books about this stuff. There was none of that. Obviously, no one was behind me. But I feel like with the creative industry as such, there's a sort of healthy and unhealthy competition. You know, there's a healthy envy that you want to be as good as what you see. You want to be as good as somebody that you know. You want to be even better. And I think that's got me sort of growing during that time, because I knew I was okay. I was average at best, really, and I wanted to kind of step up a bit. So I haven't really stopped.
There's a great story. So your new book is kind of all about enhancing creativity and improving work-life balance, and generally, I guess, bringing mindfulness into your everyday life, and to like then enhance your creativity. So what is your personal mindfulness routine? Do you meditate or do you do yoga?
So the pause, breathe and grow, healthy prop over here. Pause, breathe and grow is a kind of it's not conclusion. It's like it's a summary of my experiences in the creative industry as a creative and as a human being. Because I mentioned when we spoke before the other day that I learned to meditate at the age of 16 or 17. And at that point, at that time and at that point of my life, it seemed like the most useless information I could ever be given. Like, we had a psychology as a subject, very good teacher, but he was teaching us a square breathing. You know, you breathe in, you count to 5, you exhale, count to 5. We were 15, 16. I mean, I don't know. I'm making it out, like 17, 18, like sort of late sort of teenage years. I don't know exactly when it was, but I remember it being very strange when I was being told that at some point in the day you might need to meditate or do a relaxation technique, because we were in our late teens. You know, we were just like busy. And it was after a few years in a creative industry, let's say a decade plus, where I have run myself to the ground. It was burnouts. I was over caffeinated, dehydrated, sleep deprived, running on adrenaline and dopamine, having pretty much dopamine addiction, going to chasing pretty much rainbows, because as a creative, you're never finished. The work is never finished. Especially as a creative and running my own business, my list can be, you can write one list and go, I will focus on this until I'm done. And then by the time you tick off two things from the list, you've got another list as long as that, if not longer. So I have resurrected the information of sort of meditations and sort of mindful breathing around about 8 or 9 years ago, when I needed help, and I needed help of a therapist. I needed professional help to actually get myself out of the situation that I was in. And as anyone who is in a situation who is broken, you're looking for a quick solution. You're literally looking for that paracetamol and fix my mind, please. Of course, that doesn't work. So I started meditating. I started doing body scans, doing sort of mindful meditations, and especially the square breathing is a tool that I literally have ever since 2013. I use it 3 or 4 times a day just to find the presence, because I found in a way that as a sort of creative and a business owner, and being in an industry that you take everything personally, or you can take everything personally if you don't let it go over your head. If it gets too emotionally involved. If you're a builder, you build a wall and that wall is straight. No one's going to say, you know what, I was expecting something better. I was expecting something different. Or when you're a dentist, you do a filling. No one's going to say, I was expecting a better filling or better. We are in this industry, like, as creators, you can see it as a sort of as an extension of a expression of your soul that you create, but it's also a business, and in fact, it's more of a business than an extension of your soul, because it has to be an exchange of work that is functional for the other side. So I needed to learn how to even approach every phone call that I knew might be slightly challenging. It might be, just remembering to take a deep breath, because I was thinking about it the other day, like to run a creative business, if you don't separate the sides of, okay, it's creative now, it's admin, it's new business, it's calls, it's a massive melee. It's a mixture of everything, and it just can easily overtake your mind. So I tried to, after I've written 3 books on sort of creativity and branding, I wanted to summarize my experiences in a way that potentially could help others in a similar situation. That's why Pause, Breathe and Grow came about. It was conceived in the middle of pandemic. I never thought I would be, literally I was going to take a year out of anything, especially self-initiated, but I wanted to share what was making me getting through stuff. I wanted to sort of say, this is what I do. And I feel, especially for the industry that I'm in, it's kind of like a sort of beacon call, bit of a wake-up call, because in an industry that's been always sort of, especially advertising and branding, and it was always kind of macho industry, like, everyone's invincible, everyone carried themselves as invincible. And I think there was never a talk until 10 years ago or even 5 years ago about depression, anxiety, stress, imposter syndrome. It was all of these things that can easily take over you or take over your thoughts if you leave them unchecked in a way. So your question was about sort of meditation routine and stuff. It is, I try to do a box breathing at least a few times a day. If I wake up before my children, I do 10 minutes of body scan. Again, body scan is such a simple, ingenious thing. I mean, it's one of the many, but and try to do body scan in the evening, just to actually have a cleanse, in a way.
Cool. So, I mean, do you find it difficult fitting in kind of like a meditation and mindfulness routine when you've got like a busy business to run as well as having kids? I mean, I haven't got kids, and I find it difficult sometimes to find time for meditation. So I imagine it must be tricky.
It is. I guess when you plan something, because you have to sort of, it's like remembering taking a medicine. If you're on medications, you have to remember to take it. And in my opinion, it's important to preset the time in your day, or at least know when your markers are, that you can sort of fit it in. And I remember even try to do, I mean, the mindful breathing on a bus or on a train or waiting for the train. It's always, especially my days, because I don't work 9 to 5 shift work. My days up, no 2 days are ever the same. So I have to always be mindful that when can I get at least those 5 minutes. But I find it like there's time when I put my son to bed. So obviously I hold him for like 5-10 minutes, and I try to influence his breathing. I try to influence his, like, instigate calm. So it's kind of remembering when it can be done. Most of the time it's chaos. Like I've been awake at 5:30 for the last 18 months, and not actually maybe 5.5 years really, but especially when my son has come about, he wakes up at 5:30. It's just, you can't have a space and time for your own meditation, because little people need your attention. So it's even just having Dougie or CBeebies on the telly and just doing your own little work just to get it in. And it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be transcendent meditation when you need 25 minutes or 30 minutes. It's just not going to be that. But it's what I found that has worked, especially for me, and that's what I've tried to summarize in my book, is that if you use the tools of mindfulness or meditation and stay on top of your daily sort of escapades in a way, you can navigate all of it slightly better, because as I said earlier, like our thoughts and our problems or situations and confrontations can easily sort of cascade into unhappy or sort of even worse. We can sort of be taking that with us for to another day. So it's just a question of having that sort of elevated view of what's actually happening, because I used to, before all of this, I used to get really consumed by any little problem, and that would derail most of my day or week even.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it kind of reminds me of a quote. I can't remember who said it, but it was something like, any action that's done with complete awareness is a form of meditation itself. So it's kind of like imbuing your life with that kind of sense of awareness, rather than just thinking of it as just being when you're on the meditation cushion. And then as you build up that greater sense of mindfulness in everyday life, then it kind of quietens the mind a bit and kind of creates a space which allows more room for new ideas and creativity, like you've talked about in your book.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I tried to do, I think there was something called sleep meditation. I tried to do that, which I've done only a few sessions of that. And what was really interesting, it was just a cleanse of the mind, like literally waking up the next morning and just feeling blank, because most of us wake up, and especially if you don't do what I call the inventory of the day, if you don't write yourself what you're meant to be doing tomorrow, or for the week, it's so easy to wake up and go, right, I've got like a zillion things to do. I don't know what I should be doing first. Which of these things not going to go well, and all of that stuff. And it's so easy to be consumed by it. And I feel, as humans, we've got this problem that multitasking. Like, whoever thought that multitasking was a good idea should really rethink what that means or what they said, because. And I'm being sort of juvenile about it, but it's the separation of the things, because I don't feel as humans or even creatives, and running a business and try to be ambitious and try to be ahead of the curve, I don't think we always separate and focus on what we do. So we could be working and we could be thinking about the next 5 projects or the next sort of invoicing and VAT returns and book sales or whatever, and next books, and then we get to home, like, time to rest, and we're thinking about the work we haven't done and the stuff we should be doing, and how tired we are, and then we go to bed, and because we haven't really checked out, so we think about all the work, and we get woken up in the middle of the night thinking, oh, I need to do this, or I feel like I've got an idea, but I feel it's the stuff that we don't really fence off. Like it's great to be thinking, oh, well, ideas come to me out of nowhere, and it's an amazing thing. But in a way, especially in design, we create things that are functional, that are an answer to a problem, that are sort of part of an equation. And it can be hard to separate life and work, like that sort of that magical sort of 50-50. Oh, I wish I could put. But it never works in the way that you feel that you should be allowed to it. I mean, it's a question of signposting the time and devoting your time and staying present. And I'm lucky to have children at my age, which is sort of early 40s, because they really get my attention. I know now that I've got a business that's running. I've spent years and years working on a career where actually I can devote the time, and I can build the towers out of blocks and whatever. And I feel that it's better separating, because I think I mentioned it to you before, like when we spoke, that I feel lions, when you got lions and sort of hunting animals, when they sleep, they think about sleeping. When they are hunting, they're not thinking about that they should have slept for a bit longer. They're hunting, and they come back and they sleep again. And I think as humans, we always feel, what is it that we should have done or should be doing? And I think we are in a constant dissonance all the time, which is no good for anyone, really. And I think that's why sort of staying present and mindful and not daydream about things that could have been or could be in the future is always helpful.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
It's a really good analogy, yeah. Did you have any examples or experiences where mindfulness has helped you to like get out of a creative rut, or to like come up with new ideas when you were struggling to do that?
Yeah, I used to suffer badly from creative blocks, especially in my sort of iterations of my career, I've gone from graphic designer to an illustrator, art director, and all of that stuff. And I found myself that creative blocks were always caused by me feeling like I haven't got a map of where I'm going. Like I was never sketching before. I was never really thinking what the answer is. Someone else was giving me the brief. Someone else was giving me an idea of what I should be doing. And I was trying to unhelpfully outdo the brief and myself and everything I've done in the past. So I was always chasing something. I was always going somewhere where I've never been before, and quite unhelpfully. So I could be working. I used to work till 4 o'clock in the morning most of 10 years, I would say. I'm thinking, oh, the best ideas come to me at 8 o'clock in the evening because, yeah, well, I've done the admin, I've done the meetings, I've done everything. So I work between 8 and 4 in the morning. Very unhelpful and unhealthy. And the ideas would come at 2 a.m. or whatever. But the fights and there was no mindfulness in that. There was like, let's try something whilst I'm holding my breath, hoping that something will click in and something will happen, something will work. And you can liken it to music producers, and you can liken it to anybody else. Like if you sort of press all the buttons and hope that one of the things will be really good, you are playing, but you haven't got a direction. You haven't got a map of where you're going. Whereas I can liken it to, on the other side, to professional songwriters who know the psychology. They know what we react to, what's the hook, what they need to write, what's the sequence, what's the keys. They don't, I mean, of course they get creative right because they try to explain emotion, but they've got the tools. If you say, can you play me this in C minor with C7 and see what those lyrics, they will not be trying the buttons and thinking, where am I, what I should be doing. And I feel creative rut and creative blogs come for people who haven't got the view of what they're trying to do. And I would love to know, I would love to say that there's a quote by Hemingway that if you haven't done your research, if you haven't done your planning, then your writing suffers. And that's with pretty much everything. If you haven't got a plan, you're not going to build a house. Now, if you haven't got an idea of the chapters in the book, you will wander and start doing something. If you haven't got an idea of what you're painting, it might come together okay, but it's most likely that the outcome is not going to be good, or it's not going to be what you wanted. Like that, the happy accidents can account for, let's say, 35-40% of your output, but it's the journey and it's the struggle that it takes to get there, which it's not going to make anyone happy. It's not going to be good for your soul, and it's the struggle. And creativity is not meant to be easy. But there's also a method. You know, you get the famous musicians, and they are sort of surrounded by teams and teams of people writing songs. You know, I think the world sometimes makes you feel, it makes you believe, and lies to you in a way that what's created is an outcome of easy or straightforward. Whereas I love watching musicians when they dissect the song and say, I've been working on this for a year and it didn't feel right. The 3-chord wonder, the overnight success, is 10 years of work. So and I believe all of that, if not most of that, comes from being present, kind of dissecting your craft, turning it over upside down, analyzing it and thinking how I can be better. Because I believe everyone creative is a sort of creative athlete. Like we haven't got those teams around us that would help us to achieve the greatest things. We have to do it for ourselves and kind of understand the logic and the functionality of everything that we're working with. What is it and how does it work? Because only then you can start put it into place. Yeah. And you can easily see it as a use of meditation. Like you're not going to meditate once and use that forever and be okay, I've got it. Like I don't have to meditate ever again. It's like the meditation is, in my view, like it's like training a muscle. Like you practicing something, and only by doing it over and over again, you get better and better and better. And that just applies to creativity and the process.
Yeah, and I guess your book, Pause, Breathe, and Grow, it kind of is that practical guide that's almost coaching you in that way. So it kind of explains how to bring mindfulness into your work so you can get the most out of your creativity. And then you've got daily exercises in there as well, haven't you, that people can do to help develop mindfulness and creativity. So is there any one exercise in particular in your book that you think that you can share now that you think people should start doing straight away to help enhance their work?
I think, I mean, there's 3 sections, as the title reveals. It's pausing, breathing, and growing. And the overall theme is that it's created for people who are new to mindfulness or meditation, full stop. I've been putting mindfulness through my written work for the last 6 years. And some people really get it. Some people buy a book on creativity, or it's called Book of Ideas. There's one of these somewhere there. And it's kind of interspersed in that. It's leading you to think that way. It opens a question and lets you make your mind up of what you want to do about the topic or the exercise or the idea. And with me traveling around the world doing talks, and again, sort of interweaving sort of mindfulness into my talks, I always would ask at the end, who meditates? Who is in the room? And it could be 100 people, 400 people, 700 people. And the number is always so minor. It's just, I always have this belief that as a creatives, people who should have greater empathy, we should be more in tune with ourselves, with what we're creating. I think I'm the story. Like I'm the story of how it works. Like you have to find the bottom to find out, okay, how do I go back up and stay there with the tools that I can be using? Because, as I said earlier, there's more conversations about burnout. There's more conversations about mental health. So with this meaning of pausing at the beginning, it's just actually trying to get people to think about taking time off, like taking time out of the day, like finding a moment when you can sort of hear yourself and just stepping away from it all. Because that's been one of the feedback that it's kind of worked, that people said, thanks for the book, and by the way, thanks for the book, because it has helped them to actually make changes. The middle section is about mindfulness and meditation. We have created some audio tracks with my friend Adiba Osmani from In Here Studios, which is a drop-in meditation studio in central London. Now they do breathing pods, which is that fantastic work. And we wanted to sort of get people just to do the basics, just from going into sort of body scan and just sort of meditations, just for thinking what lies ahead. Because you can switch the computer on or start with your brushes in the morning and start holding your breath and thinking, how will I get through the day? And the last section is about looking at career growth, like personal and career growth, because it is easy. Again, I'm the testament. It's easy to do 10 years of creative work and realizing I've done okay. I don't know what I've done. I can't remember. What I did 6 months ago, because it used to be that people used to work on a project for 6 months, whereas in 6 months we can do 100 pieces of work. It's not a conveyor belt, but the production is high because we got tools, we got ability to make lots of stuff. To create a lot of stuff really quickly. But I just picked one. Smile on the inside. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, I don't have the one. I mean, if I was to say that there is sleep when you sleep and work when you work and rest when you rest, that's my ultimate goal in life, just to achieve that, on an ongoing basis. But it's just staying in the moment. I think that is really that's what it is. And smiling on the inside is just like, describe the moments that make you smile each day. It might not be any moments to make you smile every day, but it's trying to instigate this into people to look for those moments. And just generally, like the book is instigating habit formation. It gives them there's 125 5 weeks, 3 sections, 15 weeks of props You don't have to do it day by day. It is structured 7 days a week. If you want to do it back to back, but it's asking people to track down their moods, how they feel, what time they went to bed. It's kind of like a 15-week diary. And the main thing about this is habit making. Just generally like going back to things that work and doing them again and again and again until they become part of your routine and part of your daily life. Because as I don't know what your data is on return, people who meditate and stuff and come to your app and things, but it's like, how do you make it a daily thing? Like washing your hands. We wash hands every day because we go to that place where we need to wash our hands or brush our teeth. But with the things that are good for our body, soul, and mind, we don't always necessarily do ourselves a favor by doing that. So it's a question of building a habit and doing that. So I feel like the book is set up really well for that, and it also has got a section for affirmations, like what you're grateful for in a day. And I've been doing I've designed a book and I've been doing it myself, and it's amazing to go back and realize the things that you thought a particular day that you were sort of grateful for that you have long forgotten. I've like going back even a month or two, sort of and sort of retrospectively realizing, okay, reaffirms what I've been thinking that day, even though I've already forgotten about it. So it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid, and I hope, and what I've seen so far, that it has been helping the people who really needed this to really slow down, to really focus, and see where we're going. Because not everyone's got a plan, and it does help to have one.
Cool. Okay. So just as maybe to finish off, what if there's anyone watching that wants to get into the creative industry, do you have any advice for them if they're starting out their career?
I think you have to be initially very naive to get into it. It's like almost any industry, because it's gonna hurt at the beginning, and no one's got a lucky streak that everything's rosy and it's a champagne and caviar every day. It's not that. I don't envy people coming through the ranks now, being it's a twofold. You've got a space which is filled with the most amazing tools that are affordable, available, accessible, and that's amazing, because mid 2000s, late 90s, like it was stolen software and whatever, like it was, the access wasn't there, so we were hungry to learn and have those tools. So that is ticked off. Like you don't need more than 20-30 pounds a month, and you've got everything to what you need, which is great. On the other hand, because the creativity as such and tools are so easy and prevalent, the world out there is amazing. You open Instagram and you go, wow, right? Even for someone who, I know what I want to do in life, we build a creative branding business, we know where we're going with this, we write books about it, comfortable and content that I know what I can be exploring for the next 5 or 10 years. It's good. But open this, I'm like, that's a great idea, and that's a great idea. And you just look at things that could be just fantastic, done by people who are not always even a year or two with working in the creative industry or working with the tools. So it's kind of like picking a guitar and learning a few chords that you will make a noise that will sound fantastic, but it's just then how do you turn it into a career? And that's the same. Like, what is the stuff that's out there that makes you excited, that kind of tells you something, that you will kind of find your little space of the creative world? Because in one of my books, there's a chapter that says it's 100 songs rule. Like, as a young producer, you have to make 100 songs in 100 styles to find yourself. Like, what actually speaks to you? What would you want to do? What is your sort of calling and your expression that will sort of be your own, and actually don't just work for money and produce stuff that you don't really care about? Because you can be a worker in a creative industry, you can be art worker, you can be just a sort of junior creative, that you don't always work for your soul. You just work, to learn and to live at the beginning. So the first point would be that it's okay to find one thing and explore it and be good at it and have a foundation, and then kind of add on to your multifaceted career. Because as I mentioned, I'm a product of many different disciplines, especially non-creatives that feel like give me, in a crowded space, give me an edge and give me an advantage over some other peers and contemporaries. The other advice for new young creators who want to get into the industry is that you can be patient. Like, the work is always going to be there. There's always going to be a demand for what we do. There's always going to be demand for creative services, and people got their time in the sun. Like with every industry, you get some people who's meant to be popular or famous, and it's only you only sort of create yourself as a target for trolls and negativity. So it's okay to take time, and it's okay to understand. It's okay to listen, because that makes you stronger in a way. It's so easy to be sort of rushing for the top spot, and with young creatives, they would always have an idea that they have to work for some multinational brand, and because they've got some famous logos next to pieces of their work, that means something. But it's usually the bigger the project, the bigger the headache, in a way. So it's okay to be patient. It's okay to grow, and it's just going to take steps incrementally. Just like looking after your mind and your soul. Like you're not going to meditate once and sort out all your problems. That's for sure. And I think the last point was why we're talking here. It's just like, take time and don't get consumed by what you trying to do or what you're doing by daily basis, because again, with the points 1 and 2, it's a long-term journey. Like there's no need to work the hours that I used to do, or people are working still. It's okay to take time out, because as we spoke about Creative Rut and creative blogs, it's the inspiration pops you on the nose. And it's usually when you're away, when you're on holiday, when you move to somewhere new, like that's where interesting things happen, because we are led to believe that if you open Pinterest, that your creative ideas are all of a sudden sorted because you found some JPEGs. But it's how things make you feel. Creativity is about making people feel something, and feel something excellent. And I feel that comes from exchange of conversations and exchange of experiences. This is where things happen, that we understand one another and understand the size of a problem, or the nature of the problem, that then only help us to create better. And conversations about, should you go to a university or should you not, and should you be I mean, it doesn't matter. Like you studied economics, I studied economics, we find ourselves in completely different things, And I think it's just that mixture of who you are, like what makes you, because people buy, especially in the creative situations, you can win a project or commission on who you are, how excited you are, how knowledgeable you are. No one's going to sit around over your shoulder and say, well, show me how good you are in Photoshop or how good you are in Adobe InDesign. People don't do that. Like, people go because they can trust someone. People, they know that they can be in good hands. And just like you don't go to a coffee shop that's, horrible and aggressive or whatever, or aggro, you go to places where you're happy. And like, it's the human side that's sometimes more important than what you can do, because that's how you make connections and how you build your career. So that for the long term is definitely a thing that pays off the most. It's building relationships and be friendly and intrigued by stuff, because that's what will help you.
Yeah, good advice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with me today. It's been really good conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for watching. So just a quick reminder that Medito Foundation is a non-profit organization. We're completely run by volunteers. So if anyone would like to get involved, you can go to meditofoundation.org/volunteer. or if you want to make a donation, you can go to meditofoundation.org/donate. So yeah, thanks again, Radim.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks very much.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Cheers.